When you first went into into King's Cross Motive Power Department, you looked as if you're going into a big house. That's what it was. The entrance was a house. And you went in there, and just inside the door was a signing on point. We never clocked on or anything like that. We just signed the book. And then we used to walk round the corner into the driver's mess room, pick up anything that you got in there or put anything in there you want to leave. And then you walked out into the corridor, what they called the corridor. And the corridor was where the booking office staff used to be. And the stores to get your oil, take your tools and what have you, and your head lamps. Take them round to your engine. Make sure that you've got them all. And then you get the old oil can going. They're big oil cans, old, about that big. And quite a bit of oil. Then you went round. The fireman's job, well, it wasn't officially, but over the years it's always recognised that the fireman oiled round the top. The driver done round the bottom. Also the fireman done oiled the middle big end and the middle small end, which are underneath. You've got to go underneath you to get that out. And then you go round there, you've got underneath, you've got the big end. Up the front small end, you've got the small end. And then the slide bars. And on top of the slide bars you had oil cups. The two of them, you oiled them, filled them right up with oil. And then when you've done all your bits of oiling, then you've got to be your own work. The driver, his whole sole attention was oiling. He done oil. Axle box keeps, that's where the axle boxes run in. Done all that, you have to all them. All of it is within arm's reach, you know, never had to climb. For the rest, you had to, as I say, the fireman done round the top. Once you'd done that, then it was just the main preparation of the fire, making your fire up ready. Because you can put too much fire in the coal in the firebox, and you can put your fire out. Yeah, so what we used to do is put a dozen or 20 shovelfuls of coal in, leave it for a few minutes to get ignited, and then we used to start building up, down that side, down that side, down that side, down that side, and you're building. And of course, bearing in mind that the firebox is big, we used to sit in there and play cards in the winter time. It was lovely and warm. That's square. Up to here, that's square. That's the A4s. The heavy goods engines were long, 13.5 foot long, and you only had a little small hole to fire through. There. But this is all in part of the preparation, and oiling was the main thing of the preparation. And you used to do that. You were only allowed, I forget what the ratio is now, I can't remember. You used to get, I think it was about 5 pints or 4 pints of super oil and 4 pints of major oil. One was a thick, that was for the front end, and the other is a more fluid, which was the journals. The axle boxes, you used to have 2 axle boxes, one with a super and one was the ordinary oil. They would hold 9 pints of oil each. Yeah, and you got your mates have just come up from Newcastle and the engine's come into depot for me. Then you've got all the bloody oil that he's scoffed up to replace, and then they go and creep to the foreman and ask them for extra oil. And you used to get black looks for that. because it was a premier thing. Yeah. But there are, and you make your fire up, and I'm not exaggerating. To make a decent fire up, you've got to build it up in stages. Now, if you don't fill the whole box right up on the road, you get a terrible noise in your ears. It's terrible, it's lousy. So what you do, you fill up this, say that's your firebox, fill up that back corner, that front, leave the middle, leave it. And you used to build it all up like that, so you were like that. That's how it was. And you will have a good fire made up for you. You're talking about 2.5 tonne of coal. And bearing in mind, some of the coal come in bloody great lumps. This is why we used to have to go back over the hopper and top up our tender. And of course you've got the water up there and all. And both these engines hold 5,000 gallons of water in the tender. Then you think, so well, bloody old 10 tonne of coal in there and 5,000 gallons of water. That's right, I'll tell you. These had corridor tenders. So you could walk from the engine through the corridor tender into the train. And this is what we used to do. We used to help, when we was in Edinburgh, we used to help each other out. I used to go through and put my tea can in the guards section, and then he would come back with my tea can full up with coffee and a plate of sandwiches onto the engine. You come through the corridor tender, and that's how we used to do it all the time. When we were going down the road, you'd get somewhere in the region of Darlington, just this side of Darlington, and you'll see your opposite mates coming up from the other way, and you always give them the loco man's greeting. And you know what it is? Arseholes. On those whistles you may and you always whistle each other arseholes. But the governor did say, what's that all about? I said, but I'll stride on me. But you know, it was a matter of, in your mind and in your actions, getting a system on your work. Make it to your advantage.
The Mallard, what did she run like? Did she have any quirks?
What does it work? Master of its job. Master of its job. It was a double blast pipe engine, which had two blast pipes instead of one. Two. Used to get the exhaust steam away quick. Used to be a great assistance in making an engine steam freely. Mallard, you could let the steam pressure go back to 200, and 5 minutes firing round the box, she'd be back to 250. That's how free and steaming she was. They wasn't all like that. Some of them, you had to work them. You had to have a thin fire to get the benefit from them. Some of you had a big fire, some have a thin fire. You've got to learn all these different engines, and this is how you worked. I used to have a diary with all the engine number that I've worked on, and I made my remarks underneath them, so that if I get to work and I've got so and so, what's she like? Go back in my diary and look at it. So, but that's how it was. They were free steam. Most of them were free steaming engines. They rode well. At 100 mile an hour, they rode well.
So what livery was on the Mallard when you were fireman, and tell us about your time driving as well. So what colour was she?
What colour? Well, the last lot I was on was blue. There was a couple that were green. It was like everything else. The British Railway was trying out different things, different methods, bringing in different ideas. So sometimes you got an engine, it was blue one day, and you have a fortnight later, bloody green. You know, they've experimented in the workshops, you know, and all that. That's how it was. But most of them, towards the latter stage, were blue, like that.
So tell me about your driver. I know you had immense respect for him.
Joe, a good man. Yeah, a good man. You couldn't fault for him. If he had to, if he had to hit the engine, like you driving along in your fourth gear in your car, and something makes you could drop down in a third or so. That's the type of bloke he was. And he always used to say, I'm going to hit her. You know exactly what he's going to do. Exactly. Some of the drivers didn't know what they were going to do their bloody selves. He knew the road, because every driver, doesn't matter on what type of train or what, every driver has to sign for the road. To say, and it's all saying like, let me put it roughly, King's Cross to Hitchin, 32 mile. You had to sign that road to say you know that 32. All bits coming off it, going on, you had to know it all. New Peterborough, 76 mile. You had to sign for that 76 mile. Grantham, 105. You signed for all that 105. And you come down to York, 188. You had to sign for all that lot. Because the further the field you go, more it comes. And because after York you come to Darlington, 236 miles. Then you come to Newcastle, 268 miles. And that's how it goes on. Whatever bit of road you worked on, you had to sign the book. And that book is controlled by the Board of Trade. Nobody can make you drive a train on a road that you don't sign for. Nobody. If you've got a good driver, and when I say a good driver, I mean a good engineman. Not a driver, good engineman. That engineman will have faith, well, he should have faith in you. And once you've been with him a few months, he's weighed you up, the same as you've weighed him up. Know what his points are. Know his language. If he said to me, Milky, you think, so as a stranger, what the bloody hell do you mean, Milky? Well, he's telling me I've got too much water in the bloody boiler, let it come down a bit so he can see it. He didn't like his water up in the gauge glass. He liked it down here, where he could see it. You see it, you kept it there all day long, you'd never hear a peep out of him. But you learn their attitude towards you. And then you'll probably say to you one day, get over there, I'll be here. He's telling you to go and sit in his driver's seat and he'll go in the fireman's seat. He'll do the firing and you do the driving. And he'll watch you. He'll watch you, mate. You made a mistake, he bollocked you. Yeah. This is how you learn. You learn how to know. A steam engine on these here, they're not just ornaments, these side rods. Each one tells you what it's doing. Yeah. It's like you, when you get in your car, you put it in first, you get a certain speed in the second, into third, into fourth. Exactly the same as them. There, you start off with 75% cut off. Now in front of the driver you've got a brass metal plate about that long. Fore, back, mid, and it's got settings on that sector plate they call it. So when you start off you come down to 75%. That is 4 bore. You don't hit it at 4 bore, but you kept it down there. As soon as you start getting a move, unclip, half a turn. So what it's done is come out of one gear and it's gone into the next one. Right? Like you in a car, you're up and go. That is done it on the wheel, on the reversing wheel. When you turn that on these plates here, it go move. You'll see it move. Won't tell you nothing there unless you know what you're looking for. In here will tell you on your sector plate. So that when you're going say 30 mile an hour, you're down 45%. Go a little bit harder and then you go down 35%. Go down a little bit further, 25%. Give it another turn, 20%. Until you come up to 15%. That's telling you that you've got 15% of the boiler pressure and running gear at your disposal. That's what you're using. So what it's doing, these valves up here, they're like that. They're what they call inside admission. That means to say the steam is coming inside the valve heads. That's how it like that. Eh? And as you pulled up on your lever, so instead of going like that, they're gradually coming down, you go, and that's the amount of valves that you're opening when it's live steam. And that's how it's going. Drop it down, then you go a little bit further, then you come down, you can hear it on the fire. You hear it, but I'm telling you, you're hitting me. Eh? And the fireman knows that, mate, because his arse is amongst the fire. Yeah. But it's just like a car, treat it like a car, and you can get the best value out of it. Best value out of it. It's no good just bloody. Some of these old boys, well, I don't know who taught them, but in my mind, as a young fireman, I was learning. In my mind, I could see where they were, in my opinion, they were going wrong. And when, and when I went up for my driving test, that was with Mr. Emery, the chief engineer of Board of Trade. He said to me after we'd been through, I went down to Grantham about 210 miles. He said, "You've learnt your trade well." He said, "I take it that you've learnt a lot from Joe," because he used to, these inspectors, they used to call drivers their first name. I said, "Yeah," I said, "I've learnt a tremendous amount with Joe." I said, "When I first went with him, I found it very difficult to read him." I said, "But it's gradually sunk in me, mate, and I can see his points of view straight away." I said, "Not only that, get him on a loose couple train where all the couplings are all loose. That's when you prove yourself a driver. Because if you done anything wrong, you'd soon break loose. Green light outside the box, train divided. There. The idea was, and the guard used to remind me, don't forget I'm at the back. Because if you plonk the brake on the engine, those couplings go. And when you're in that brake at the back, it'll not give you a belt. And if you're not careful, you're on your back. There. And this is how these guards used to judge you, and what kind of a ride they had. There. But for some reason or the other, I used to enjoy loose couple trains. And I had a driver that used to do day and day about driving every day, 7 days a week. If it's his turn to do the fire, no matter what train it was, he'd do it. Yeah, that was old Georgie Rolt. A rough man in his way, but a bloody good driver. Bloody good driver. And I learnt again a lot off of that man. And it was a pleasure to be with him. But I had one bloke that I couldn't get on with. His name was Charlie Simmons, the driver. Ex-Mayor of Finsbury, chairman of the water board, the chairman of the council, a pig in his way. I hated him. I hated him. He'd never make a drive as long as he got older than a year old. No, mate, no. I've run past more, when I was firing to him, I had 2 years with him. When I was firing to him, I've run past more signals at red light than I can ever remember. And we had a very, very close disaster. One night, we were going down with a train. It was an experimental train. It was a train that they brought in for a new design of engine. And the engine was the Bongo B1. And it was 44 wagons at Class A speed. That was speed of 40 mile plus. Well, we went down through Langley, down through Itchen. When we coming down towards Offord, the signal, my distance signal, was on, showing me one yellow light. And he's still belting into him. I said to him, Charlie, I said, don't we got a bloody red light in front of us? I know what I'm doing. He did. When that red light come up in front, we passed it about 30 mile an hour. Went a bit further, we cracked the two detonators outside the signal box. That's danger. We passed the starting signal, red light. We passed the advanced starter, red light. And we eventually stopped about 4 miles down the road. And I said to me, bastard, what are you doing? Trying to kill me. When I got off the engine down, this at 2 o'clock in the morning, when I got off the engine and walked up the Connington South signal box, he said, that's a close one, boy, wasn't it? Close me bloody arse, mate. I said, the bloke was shooting. There. And he got away with it.